sort out my windows over here. Looks like I'm going to have to pop out my chat, unfortunately, and bring that over with my OBS. You there. OBS goes there, and we'll squish you up right nice and tight there. Because my Rumble chatbot doesn't seem to be working today. And I'll check it again just in case. And that'll be the third one. Balls. Yeah, all the balls. Okay, so that goes there. Let's bring this up here. That is supposed to be there. We should have the Avast browser. Perfect. Okay, so for today's response, we have this piece of good news. I'm sorry, well, this response to a piece of good news. That, of course, is absolutely retarded. But what else do we have? Do we have anything in my bookmarks? Should be something in my X bookmarks, I believe. I put something in there today. Just the one. Ah, yes. Okay. We will copy that link. And, of course, the other big story today is that thing that happened in that place with that guy. But first, we'll look at this. This is from aei.org, which I have no idea what that is, but it wants to be donated to, which tells me I should check their About page. So about AEI. The American Enterprise Institute is a public policy think tank dedicated to defending human dignity, expanding human potential, and building a freer and safer world. Eliminate borders. You can go fuck yourselves. The work of our scholars and staff advances ideas rooted in our belief in democracy, because, of course, democracy is a religious tenet now, free enterprise, American strength, and global leadership. Well, we're going to talk about American strength shortly. Solidarity with those at the periphery of our society, and a pluralistic entrepreneurial culture. In other words, the line go up, and we don't care what color does it. Yeah, fuck you people. Okay, so let's go back to the main reason we were here. Oops. What was that? So, according to Sally Sattel, Irina Zarutska's killer does not deserve to die. Yeah, let's have a look at this. North Carolina has not used the death penalty since 2006. Things might be a little better in North Carolina if they had. But that might change because of DeCarlos Brown Jr. He is the man who pulled a knife from his pocket on a light rail train in Charlotte, North Carolina in August and stabbed Ukrainian refugee Irina Zarutska in the neck at least 3 times. It was all captured in a chilling video. She was pronounced dead within minutes. He was denounced as an example of our failed criminal justice system. 2 violent felonies, including one for which Brown spent 5 years in prison, plus at least 12 other arrests. 14 arrests, at least 2 of them for violent felonies. Regardless, he's never getting out of jail again. Third strike rule. He quote, should be given a quick, there is no doubt, trial, and only awarded the death penalty. There can be no other option, unquote. President Donald Trump thundered on social media in September. Rightly. Trump is not our guy, but stop clocks. In early October, North Carolina Governor Josh Stein, a Democrat, signed Irina's Law, which removes legal hurdles on the use of capital punishment. Not necessarily great. Oh, it says continue reading at the Free Press. So apparently we're going over to the Free Press. I won't be signing in or subscribing. Piss off. The execution of the schizophrenic man who stabbed a Ukrainian refugee on a train would be an act of cruelty, not justice. Wrong. Very wrong. But let's see what Miss Sattel's... also, I will point out, this is an image of Bob Marley. Yeah. Excuse me. North Carolina has not used the death penalty. Really? You're going to make me do this? Fine. Let's talk to the archive machine. Yeah, there we go. Look at that. Okay, I'm gonna have to do some different stuff. Let's try full screening this. There we go. Okay. Irina Zarutska's killer does not deserve to die. Sally Sattel from 11/18/25, from November 18th. So this was before he was actually sentenced to die. Captured chilling video, legal hurdles. Prosecutors have not said if the state will try to execute Brown 34 if he is convicted of the first-degree murder of Zarutska 23. A court hearing on the question was delayed until next April at the request of Brown and his lawyer. I don't believe that's actually going to happen now. Whenever it happens, it is morally wrong for North Carolina to subject Brown to even the possibility of the death penalty. Lady, the Bible says thou shalt not murder. And I make that very clear distinction between thou shalt not murder and thou shalt not kill. Killing is something people and animals, which are people too. Sorry, let me rephrase that. Animals and people, which are animals too, yeah, do as part of just the natural process of existence. Okay. While I do not oppose it, at least in theory, I am staunchly opposed to executing people who were severely mentally ill when they killed. Really. This appears to describe DeCarlos Brown Jr., who was diagnosed with schizophrenia in 2020. Brown's family sought involuntary treatment several times and was eventually able to get him committed, but he was released after 2 weeks. So, violent felon is released after 2 weeks. Actually, when was DeCarlos Brown Jr. released from prison the last time before he killed Irina Zarutska? Let's see. From the Hindustan Times. Was he released from... Oh, no, I'm not allowing ads. Fuck off. Okay, he was arrested. Previous charges, mental health, released Ukrainian refugee murder months prior. So he was sentenced to 5 years for robbery. Oh wow, he does look an awful lot like Bob Marley, doesn't he? My apologies. It was actually a picture of DeCarlos Brown Jr. Amazing. Reject all. Thank you. No thanks. I don't want any updates. So, judge released Ukrainian refugee murder suspect months prior based on written promise. He gave his word, kids. North Carolina Magistrate Judge Teresa Stokes granted the release of Brown, a homeless man charged with brutal stabbing, following his arrest in January, based upon a, quote, written promise that Brown would return for his court hearing. He was arrested January 19th for misuse of the 911 system. Called 911 in the middle of police officers conducting a welfare check on him. That's not misuse, depending on what's going on. I have absolutely no issue whatsoever uh, with someone who has people who purport to be police officers banging on their door, calling 911 to confirm it. That said, yeah, so he was released. Clearly, he'd done. Oh, let's skip that one. That's the other story we're going to look at. Let's see here. Okay, whenever it happens, it was morally wrong for North Carolina to subject Brown to even the possibility of the death penalty. Really? January this year, here we are. Brown was charged with myth-using? English. According to court records reviewed by the Free Press, he told officers that, quote, someone gave him man-made material that controlled when he ate, walked, and talked. Would that be the drugs you were doing to Carlos? After the stabbing in August, he told his mother the police planned to let him go because they had the wrong man. I got to go back over to the hospital, though, because they got to get that object out of my head. 6 days after he was arrested, his sister asked him, out of all people, why her? She's from the Ukraine, she's from Russia. Pick one. And they had a war going on against the US, so I'm just trying to understand, of all people, why her? His answer was another clear sign of a psychotic illness. Whoever was working the materials, they lashed out on her. That's all there is to it. So his claim is now going to be that there's an object in his head that controlled his actions. Now they really got to investigate what my body was exposed to. One need not be a psychiatrist, as I am, to grasp the profound injustice of executing a person who killed someone under the command of delusions. Okay, there needs to be a middle ground. There is a middle ground. The middle ground is, has this person done it before? Have they previously been violent? Is this absolutely a result of this delusional condition that he has? If all three of those aren't answered yes, or sorry, Um, if you can't answer no to the first two and yes to the second, to the last, then you have a problem. This person has been violent before, has repeatedly, he's not being treated, he's refusing treatment. Um, sorry, that makes you a danger to the society. Yeah. Meeting the second condition, not comprehending the nature or wrongfulness of the crime. Okay, so we're talking about the law from a psychiatrist's perspective. The law is concerned with blameworthiness and accepts that criminal responsibility requires the perpetrator to understand the wrongfulness of the act. Not in Canada. In Canada, if you do something that is violent, but you don't intend to do harm, regardless of the fact that one could conceivably see it. Yeah, anyway, we're not going to get into the ins and outs of Canadian law here. Uh, Recall the 2001 case of Houston mother Andrea Yates, also black, if I recall correctly. Uh, no, actually, she may not be. I'm trying to remember that name. Uh, for a picture, it's not going to be shown. She told doctors that drowning her children was an act of mercy so that they would not burn in hell by the time they reached the age of accountability. Oof. Okay. Although Brum may seem like the perfect candidate for an insanity defense, it is very possible that he, like most mentally ill defendants, would not be acquitted by a jury on such grounds. That's because the insanity defense has been overused, for one. There's also the fact that he's on audio recording, essentially building an alibi for himself. You uh, and you could make the case, oh, well, no, he's talking to the voices in his head and telling them that he got that white girl. No, because at no point has he ever said there's a voice in his head. He's talked about a material that controls him. Yeah. An insanity defense by Brown could also fail if a narrow legal interpretation prevails at his trial, namely whether he knew that unprovoked killing is morally wrong. How would anyone not know that raised in our society? He likely did. He said to his sister about Zarutska, I never said not one word to the lady at all. That's scary, ain't it? So, like, why would somebody stab somebody for no reason? But he was provoked on one level by a delusion that material made him do it. Brown's action was the direct outcome of the deranged thinking of his sister. You don't know that, lady. You claim to be a psychiatrist, and yet you also seem to fail to realize that in order to make an assessment like that, you'd actually have to have been in a room with him and talked to him. There needs to be a middle ground for severely mentally ill defendants. Yes. Uh, oh, sorry, let me read this whole thing. So what should we do? There needs to be a middle ground for severely mentally ill defendants whose insanity plea is rejected by a jury, but whose capacity for moral reasoning was so distorted when they killed that they should not be held fully responsible. The killer could still face other punishments such as life imprisonment, which he was going to get anyway. He's a three-time loser, but not execution. Disorder is a choice? Are you fucking kidding me? Middle ground for severely mentally ill defendants whose insanity plea is rejected by a jury, but whose capacity for moral reasoning was so distorted when they killed, they should not be held fully responsible. Okay, so this is the insanity plea acquitting them. When that acquittal option is rejected by a jury, then you have to decide how to punish them. And you think life imprisonment is kinder for someone who's schizophrenic than execution. Someone who's severely, violently schizophrenic. So you would rather subject prisoners to the potential harm that this person could do to them than have them roaming in society. So you clearly don't think they belong in society, but you're fine with people who are being punished for things that they did to society, people who are paying their debt to society. Not that that ever seems to matter to anyone anymore. You're telling this man, or sorry, you're telling those men, and hopefully men, because if he chose to identify as a woman, he could have been sent to a female prison. Yeah, but you're basically saying you don't care what happens to prisoners once they're in custody. That's great kindness you have there. While you're attempting to display a veneer of kindness towards this fella. Type of protection has already been applied. Mentally retarded is not the same as schizophrenic. Um, I'm sorry, but here's my take on it. And we'll leave Sally Sattel's picture up here for now. She's from Yale. Great. Yale liberal. Here's my take on the Carlos Brown Jr. situation. And it's a horrible thing that a human being is going to lose their life. But between the issues he has, whether they're drug induced, genetic, whatever, for the schizophrenia, he killed someone completely unprovoked after already having shown that he's a violent threat to society. You put a dog down after it bites one person. This is a dangerous animal. People are animals. A dangerous person is a dangerous animal. If you cannot restrain or control a dangerous animal, you have no choice but to put it down for the good of everyone around it. You don't put them in a cage with other caged animals and expect them to get better. So yeah, I have no issue whatsoever with Carlos Brown Jr. being executed. I, well, I won't say I have no issue with it. It is regrettable that a human being has to lose their life. However, justice demands. I'm sorry, I'm going to be biblical about it, even as what amounts to an atheist agnostic at this point. Justice demands an eye for an eye in this case. So yeah. Now, to the slightly funnier stuff. So Michael Knowles was kind enough to say, if I were Canada, I'd be on my best behavior right about now. Talking about Maduro, of course. And my response to him was, "Don't threaten us with a good time, Mike." Yeah, go ahead. Send the military up to take Carney out of Ottawa. And from Tony Tarrant, we had elections not too long ago. You guys did nothing before, during, and after that. No peep about our populist party fighting corruption up here. It's almost like you have the uniparty you want in power here. You'll do nothing now. Of course they won't. And also, Israel has no issue with what's going on in Canada. Uh, Robert Bard, who I don't know. Oh, apparently I do. Following him follows me. Or what? Are you not for free speech? Whether I agree with my fellow Canadians or not, they have the right to speak their minds. So rights for thee, but not for me. I think you're misunderstanding the thrust of Mr. Knowles' tweet there, Robert. It strikes me that Mr. Knowles is being tongue-in-cheek and suggesting that Canada may be, regime changed next. I don't necessarily have an issue with that. We're verging on full-on communist tyranny in this country as it is. June Marie. Oh, hang on. Let me put that at the top so I can read the tags. Another one who follows me and I'm following. An Albertan anti-communist. Good girl. Please emancipate us. Signed, Alberta. Chris Pavlovsky. You're not my buddy guy. You're not my pal, buddy. Yeah, please invade us. Yeah. ordinary, ordinary Thomist. Ordinary Thomas. Yeah. Viva Fry. You're going to have to translate this to Mandarin to make sure the better part of the Canadian government understands the post. Yeah, for into Hindi for others, uh, Gujarati for others, and French for some, vanishingly smaller number. And then put out a version in Punjab. There you go. Just to make sure the other portion of the government understands. Yeah. Lee Clark. Yes, not even Aunt Jemima can save him now. Oh, I hit the wrong button there. My bad. There we are. Kearney, Cream of Week. Let's see. From Agent Blusky, who I probably follow, I think. No. Uh, okay, guys, seriously, let's talk about this just for a second. I understand the Trudeau hate. I was right there with you. He's not the problem anymore. Let him go fuck that Hollywood whore that he's chasing. That's fine. If he wants to be a movie star, let him. Who cares? Let him do the reverse Grace. Oh, what was her name? Became Princess Grace Monaco. Kelly. Let him do the reverse Grace Kelly. Who cares? Don't care. Don't give a shit. He's no longer our problem. Sorry, there's hair floating in the air for some reason. Uh, the Monroe Doctrine. I'm gonna have to look up the Monroe Doctrine. What is the Monroe Doctrine? Also, that's not what Trump is doing. Let's see here. We'll use Wikipedia. It's a fairly well documented thing, so I don't think they can lie too much. United States foreign policy position that opposes European colonialism in the Western Hemisphere. Wow, is that ever out of date? Well, then again, Europe is becoming primarily, yeah. Mm, eh. Anyway, Mossy Sparks, who is probably also not someone I follow. Nope. How do you describe yourself? The almighty Canadian hobo white hat sorcerer, head of parapsychology at the SIP Foundation, developer of Stash Spot, Keep Hop, App Boy, and App Boy Advance. Things I've never heard of. Try it. You tell America to send their top guys for the job. See the response you get. People waving American flags and cheering as Carney is taken out in chains. How does that expression go? This isn't going to go the way you think it's going to go. From reminiscences of an American, I assume capitalist. Yes, I assume. Canada will need a bailout within 2 or 3 years. No, no, we won't. Very serious consequences for the U.S. economy as Canada is a NATO member. Yes, so is the U.S. There's a question. What is NATO's policy if one member attacks another? We'll go to Reddit for this one. I know it's cancer, but what kind of rules are there to prevent this, and what would happen if they still went to war? So what would happen if a country in NATO went to war with another country in NATO? What's the likely series of events that would take place from countries developing unstable relationship, declaration of war, and so on? The answers here are simple. The other members come to the aid of the defender, but it's not entirely true. Okay, so that's Reddit knobs being Reddit knobs. Give me a second, I'll ask a sensible AI I trust. If a NATO attacked another, there we go. And we'll just grab that link, pop over here, drop it in here. I do tend to trust the Brave AI a bit more than a lot of other ones, but we'll just go with the simple ask. And I will point out, AI is really just a up-jumped search engine. So Article 5 of the NATO Treaty is the cornerstone. An armed attack against one or more NATO members is considered an attack against all. In response, each member agrees to take, quote, such action as it deems necessary. The U.S. invades Canada. Do you think any other member of NATO is going to go, oh, yeah, we're going to go invade to free Canada? Fuck right off. Ain't going to happen. All bow down in grace to the new Supreme Commander of the free world, conquering hearts and allies. Pew pew Jewish space lasers. Interesting meme. Going into the comment section. Alberta independence referendum. Trump is a spirit. Oh, geez, I haven't seen this before. Leonard Joyner. Oh, oh, hang on. This is Radio Free America to our brothers in the frozen north with a special message. Let's see what the.
It's 11:59 on Radio Free America. This is Uncle Sam, with music, and the truth until dawn. Right now I've got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zones. The chair is against the wall, the chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache, John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, America, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there, on, or behind the lines, this is your song.
Okay, that was more or less pointless, but a fun diversion. War is good now, yeah. Let me see. Phila2.mg. I'm gonna bet you're neither Canadian nor American. Let's have a look at you. Vatnik land? Apparently somewhere in Europe. I don't know what Vatnik land is. I don't really care that much. I just want to point out, you know, a special military operation that removed Carney from power in Canada it would be nice. It wouldn't solve the problem. Like the US, Canada's bureaucrats are essentially entrenched operatives for, I'm sure some of them are patriots. I'm not sure all of them are. Yeah. In any case, that's it for the recording part of today's show. And I'll drop this down again. Actually, I can just close that and we'll come back to the cover. I see there's no one in chat, so hopefully somebody will show up eventually. But in any case, that's going to be the end of the recorded segment today. I will be putting the video out later. If you enjoy what you've just seen or would like to see more, you can obviously subscribe. I'm sorry, I'm on Rumble. Do not subscribe. Do not rant. Rumble is taking far too much money from its creators at this point, uh, as high as 50%. Absolutely insane. I would understand if Rumble were making vast improvements immediately, having made that change to their policy for what they were collecting. They haven't, so they can go directly to hell. Their app is still trash. So yeah, no, until something like that gets fixed, I am not going to support monetary use of Rumble or monetary donations to me on Rumble. If you would like to, if you would like to financially support me, you can do it through the Ko-fi link in the description or the pinned comment. I'm not slick at this yet, so I'll get there, but give me time. Uh, but yeah, if you want to support me, oh, Didger's in says hi. Hiya, Didger. Just in time to see the end of the recorded part before I start gaming. um, but yeah, the if you want to support me financially, you can do it through the Ko-fi link, which is coming across the screen now. And I also want to say a big thank you, as always, to Simon, JJ, and the Orangutan Gang. These are the people who financially support me, especially Simon. He's the best supporter a guy could ask for. But also the Orangutan Gang, you guys who come into chat, you guys who come and say hi in comments, you guys who share the link, you guys are important too. So, you know, it's the rising tide lifting all ships sort of deal. Actually, no, I've got that completely wrong and completely ignore me. I haven't had enough caffeine yet today, clearly. So yeah, that's going to be the end of the recorded segment. So as always, I hope you're doing well. I hope you continue to do well. And as always, rise and rise again until lands become lions. See you later.